Chapter 2, Section 2. This is physical properties. What is a physical property? There are many different types that we're going to talk about. So we have viscosity, conductivity, malleability, hardness, melting point, and boiling point. We also have density. Now, viscosity, because it is a physical property, that means something is changing, is the tendency of a liquid to keep from flowing, or the resistance to flow. So something with a high viscosity means it's very thick. It wants to stick and stay together. So think of honey or molasses. Versus something with a low viscosity means it really wants to move easily. So think about water or vinegar. Conductivity is the ability of heat or electricity to flow through a material. So think about conductors. When we talked about the physics section, we had those conductors that allowed materials to be heated up or have electricity move through them. So think about metals, so aluminum, copper wiring in your house, of course. Malleability means it's the ability of a solid to be hammered out or changed in shape without shattering or fracturing. So think about aluminum. Aluminum is malleable. Aluminum can be shaped into many different things. Most of your metals can. Hardness, it's the resistance of an object to being scratched. You might remember the hardness or the Mohs scale from your earth science class. Melting point, should kind of be pretty obvious. It's a temperature for any specific substance where it changes from a solid to a liquid. So think about for water, changing from the solid state of ice to a liquid state of fluid water, 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. The boiling point is a temperature at which a substance boils. So this is the temperature at which it's beginning to change the state from a liquid to a gas. And for water, that's 100 degrees Celsius. And then last but not least is density. It's a ratio of substances' mass to volume. So D, that's our density. That can actually be used to test the purity of a substance. So let's say, for example, you have a sample of gold and you want to know how pure that sample of gold is. Well, you can take the density of that, the mass and the volume, and you can discover just how pure of a sample you have. So the density, we looked at density formula already, D equals M over V, and you will see that again. But how we use these physical properties is very important as well. We use them to either identify a material, so just like with gold, if you have an unknown substance, you can use any of those properties to figure out what it is. You can use it to choose a material for a specific purpose. Let's say you want to do a new type of shoelace. Well, you might want something that's malleable or moldable like leather versus something that's not moldable, such as wood. And you can also use it to separate substances in a mixture. Now, to identify a material, you need to decide which properties are going to be the most important for you to test. Density will always be one of your better properties. You will do tests on your sample. Then you're going to compare those results with your reported data. So examples, collecting evidence from a crime scene. If you have an unknown material, an unknown fiber on, whether it's on a human or whatever, for those of you that are in forensic science, if you collect that fiber, you need something, you need to do those tests and you need something to compare it to see what it is. So choosing your materials, looking at the properties to determine what's the best for your application of that. So again, leather shoelaces instead of having wooden ones. And then separating your mixtures, we have a system known as filtration. So it's the process of having things filtered out of a system. And that can be done in several different ways. We also have what's known as distillation, and that's more of the type of boiling something to remove or separate those particles. So filtration, it separates it based on particle sizes. So for example, if we had a napkin or some kind of thin material, like cheesecloth for example, and let's say that we poured out a solution of sand and water. Well, the cheesecloth or that material would hold all of the sand and the water would be able to flow right through. So gem mining is another example. When you get those big bags of sand that have your hidden gems inside, and you have to put it into your container and kind of sift it through the water, so it gets rid of all the smaller particles. And again, distillation, you're separating substances based on how they boil. So a submarine actually does distillation as it's descending. So one more last thing, physical changes when you have some properties of a material that change, but the substance itself stays the same. So aluminum, after you mold and shape it into some different shape, is still aluminum. Okay. Gold, when you're looking at density, is still the property of gold. You're still looking at the same material. And that's important for this class. All right, that's it for today.